Hey guys, today we're going to be looking at lesson 6.2. It's called Surface Area of Rectangular Prisms. All right, starting on our first page of notes, we're going to start looking at this top portion. I've already completed this first question for you, and we're going to color code it so that it'll help you out later. This is the visual of the 3D figure, and this is what the net looks like. We talked about that previously. Now today we're going to start taking these measurements around the side. We're going to map it out on the net, and then we're going to find the areas of each of these individual pieces and then list out what they are in a chart so we can find the total value. You might also remember back when we did composite figures, this looks like a bunch of shapes stuck together, correct? So we're going to make that connection with what we do today with what we've already learned. Okay, we're going to start by getting 3 different colors of color pencils. I'm going to choose blue, orange, and yellow if you want to do yours the same as me. If not, get 3 colors, whatever you want. I'm going to start by looking at this net, and we're going to color code it so you see all the pieces that match. I'm going to take blue, and I'm going to color in rectangle A. Now, if you look at your chart, is there any other row in this chart that does 11 times 4 and gets 44 when you look through the list? Okay, C is the same. So then I'm going to color code rectangle C the same color. And this pattern is going to be the same all throughout today. Then I'm going to get yellow, and I'm going to color in box B. When I look at my chart, box B said the measurements were 11 times 3 for area. What other rectangle is the same size as box B? There you go, box D. So now we're going to make D the same color. Then our 2 leftover pieces, which yesterday we talked about these 2 on the outside, which are different from all the rest. They're not in the straight line. Those are our bases. They shaded the base for me, 4 and 3. That's why those are there. I'm going to take my orange and I'm going to shade in both E and F. They're the only ones left, and when you look in the chart, they both say 4 times 3. Now, the final answer says what's the total surface area. So my directions right here say now if you want total, add all 6 pieces together. I'm going to add all these numbers together and you get 178. And that's basically what we're doing today. So now let's try to do one on our own that's not already set up for us. The question says, decompose the net into shapes. That means take this apart and look at all the pieces individually. Complete the table to determine the total surface area. So that's my goal, is to get the total surface area, just like the last one. The first thing I'm going to start out with is labeling those pieces just like the top one. So can you guys get your pen or pencil, and we're going to label A, B, C, D across the middle, and then E and F for the top and bottom piece, which will become the base. Now we're going to pre-code this whole entire figure, and we're going to color it the exact same way we just did previously. So do you guys remember what other piece was the same color as A? Good job, it was C. And this shape lets you tell just visually those are definitely the same size. Now over in my chart, what I need to do is write the multiplication question for finding the area of that rectangle. Now the only thing is, when I look at rectangle A, I only see one number on it right here. So this bottom number is missing. Does it look like this measurement would be this short, tiny number 3, or does it look like it would be this longer number 8? Good job, it would be an 8. So I'm going to go ahead and write that 8 over here to remind me that's the measurements for both rectangle A and C. Now I'm going to go to my chart and I'm going to fill that out. 15 times 8 on both rectangle A and C. Now I've already multiplied that out and it makes 120. So to make this go faster, we're going to fill that in. What color did we use for B and D last time? Awesome, we used yellow. If you're using your own colors, just make them the same because they are the exact same size. Now rectangle B, sorry about that, I don't see any measurements on this guy, and I don't see any measurements on D. Label, see how the 3 is going over here to this really short line? It also needs an arrow coming down to this side. So draw in an arrow going to the top of part B. So now I know the short side is 3. How long is this one? And it's right next to rectangle A. If you look to the side, it should also be 15. They match up. So now I know my dimensions for B and D. Remember, they're the same color. It's 15 times 3. And then I'm going to write it again on rectangle D. 15 times 3. That makes 45. So we're going to fill that in. All right, our last two pieces were orange. If you guys can shade those in. When you look at rectangle E, it's got a 3 for the short line, but this top line is missing. However, remember it's the same color as F, and its long line is 8. Now if you want, you can go ahead and label the 8 up top as well, or you can just write your multiplication question in your chart, 8 times 3. 8 times 3 for both of those, and that's 24. Okay, now remember, to get the total, we have to add all these together. Now that's a really long list, and sometimes it's easy to mess up if you try to do all of them at one time. So I'm going to go over here to the side, and I'm just going to group up numbers that would be easy. So I'm going to do 120 plus 120. That makes 240. Then I'm going to add 45 plus 45. That makes 90. And then I'm going to add 24 plus 24. That makes 48. So now I need to take these three numbers and put them together for my total. 240 plus 48, that's 288. And then I need to also add that 90 in, 378. So this one is final answer, 378 square meters. Okay, on the next page, we're going to look at a different type of surface area. Can you guys go over this word lateral and put not the two bases? Remember, prisms always had two bases when we talked about that yesterday. Okay, this question has us do two different ones, but I'm going to have you take a pencil. I'm going to have you cross out the word total, and down here I'm going to have you cross out the word total. From the previous page, we need to label this net in the center. Remember, we did A, B, C, D. And then the two bases were E and F. Can you guys label E and F as those two shaded bases? And then remember, it said we're doing lateral surface area, right? Coming down to where this, I am going to highlight down here that we're also doing lateral, so you can either do it with a color pencil or circle it or something. I'm going to put a star next to it, and the pieces that are lateral are only A, B, C, and D. Remember, above we wrote not the two bases. So this one's easier. We only have to do 4 pieces. Let's color code just like we did previously. A and C were blue for me. Whatever color you chose, make those the same. And then B and D were yellow for me. Now I have my shape coded. I'm going to go over here to my chart, and I'm going to fill in the measurements for finding the area of those 4 rectangles. If you look at rectangle A right here, it has the 2 numbers that I need, 4.2 times 5, or 5 times 4.2, whichever way you want to write it. 5 times 4.2, 4.2 times 5. All right, that makes 21.0, so I can just put 21 on that. Then remember, the shape that's the same color is the exact same size. So I'm going to go down to rectangle C and just go ahead and say 5 times 4.2 is also 21. Then my yellow rectangle, it's right next to this blue one, so this up and down line should be the same as this one, so that's 5, but then this short one is missing. So if you look over at D, it's pointing our arrow over here, and it's saying it's 2.9. So I'm just going to write my 5 back over here on the side because I know it matches with this one, and now I know B and D's measurements, it's 5 times 2.9. I'm going to write that in my chart, 5 times 2.9. 5 times 2.9. 5 times 2.9. Okay, again, that's one I don't just know, so I'm going to do 2.9 because it has more digits times 5 on top. Got to put my decimal in, so that makes 14.5 for both of those. Then remember, we're not doing the bases, so I can scribble that out. I don't need the area of E and F. To get the lateral surface area, I just need to add together those 4. So 21 plus 21 is 42. And then 14.5 plus 14.5 is 29. Now my final thing I need to do is 42 plus 29. And that makes 71. So now I know the answer for lateral surface area is 71, and the units was centimeters squared. Okay, let's look at one that doesn't have a net, and I'm going to show you guys how to solve this one as well. We're going to take off total, so you can scratch that out, find the lateral only, which we just did, and the pieces that were for lateral were only A, B, C, and D. So I'm going to put that up here that I only need piece A, B, C, and D. Now because these aren't spread out, it might be a little bit harder for you to see, but we're going to label them the best we can. The front piece, remember that big rectangle, we were labeling it as A. So I'm going to shade in this big front rectangle as A. Can you guys color that blue? That's what we were doing in the past. Then I'm going to draw a line coming to it and say this is rectangle A. Then the one next to it was normally a rectangle B. So the sideways one that's touching it, I'm going to color it yellow because that's what I had in the past. And then I'm going to draw an arrow to this one and label it B. Now I just need to get those measurements and put them in the chart. So A, this long line going up and down, it doesn't have a number, but it matches with this long line going up and down. So I'm going to place an 8 on the side of that one. Now I know my measurements for rectangle A. I need to multiply 8 and 4 together. I'm going to come to my chart. Remember, we don't need those two bases, so E and D, or E and F don't count. A is 8 times 4, which is 32. So I'm going to put that on C because in our previous questions, those have always matched. Then a rectangle B, I know this long line is 8, and then this short line, it has a number 2.5. So I'm going to do 8 times 2.5 and 8 times 2.5. Now I've already multiplied that out for you and make it go faster. I'm just going to tell you it's 20. For the total amount of just these 4, remember we have to add together, 32 plus 32 is 64, and then 20 plus 20 is 40. And then our last thing to do would be to add those together. 40 plus 64 is 104. So the lateral surface area would be 104 square inches. On the very last page, question 4, it says, all of the surfaces of the cube net below are being painted. How many square feet would be covered? So I did this one for you. And remember, a cube we talked about is all squares. And squares are the same dimension on all sides. That's why they only give you one number. Can you guys take your highlighter or a pencil, whatever you want, and just go over this message that says all 6 pieces are the same size. Then take your pencil, circle this 16 and label it as 1 square. So to get the area of 1 square, I did 4 times 4 because that's a square. And then if they're painting all the faces, that's 6 of them. So I multiplied one value, 16 times 6, and I got 96. So now I know the whole cube is worth 96 square feet.